Interestingly enough, I have a clip here from Wade Keller, who has talked with Tony Khan in the past, and in this particular clip here has some insight on how Tony Khan might view his locker room and where people like CM Punk stand with Tony Khan compared to people like the Young Bucks. Check out this clip.
What I've been hearing from talking to a lot of people about Tony's mindset towards the locker room, and my impression was that Tony, as of going into the press conference Sunday night, was on Team Punk when it came to this, and did feel bad or guilty, or is at least willing to play that role to placate Punk, who he values as his top, the top paid star, the current world champion, and a key to the next TV deal and a big raise for, a big increase in rights fees. Punk is as important as anyone, more important than probably anybody, objectively, but certainly in Tony's eyes, I think he felt that way. I also have gotten the impression, not just as of, not just Sunday night, but over the last couple of years, increasingly, I think the word disenchanted with the Bucks isn't quite the right phrase, but some people have used that with me, but just not married to the notion that I need them to run this company, or that they're essential to the numbers he's drawing at the gate, on TV, on pay-per-view. And Tony is very numbers oriented.
That's pretty interesting that Tony Khan might see more, I guess, financially, there's more value in CM Punk right now than there is the Young Bucks. But that's just one thing, right? Like, so CM Punk might be a bigger minute-to-minute draw. Fine. CM Punk might be a bigger pay-per-view draw than the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Fine. And Hangman, all those guys. That's fine. That's one thing, though. You also got to look at the longevity. Punk's fragile as fuck. Look at him. He's injured again. The guy can't even get through a match now without getting hurt. And that's, maybe not fair to say because it's happened to other people. And, he did have a nice long, he basically went the whole first year. He had a lot of matches in that year with a lot of guys, and he went through it without getting hurt. But now he seems fairly fragile. And so that's one thing, his age and his ability to stay healthy compared to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Now, Kenny Omega was just out on the shelf as well. But Kenny and the Bucks are significantly younger than Punk, which means they have significantly more years ahead of them. So you have all that more time that you can play with those action figures than you can this old beat-up, worn-out one. Another thing to look at is just your locker room morale. So what if CM Punk's the biggest draw of all time ever? I don't care if you get, how much money the dude makes for the company. What's that worth when every single other person in the locker room is now unhappy and will probably jump at the chance to go over to WWE when they get the chance because they don't want to be around a toxic locker room or be around CM Punk more specifically. So even though Tony Khan may see more financial value in the current or may see that Punk just does better numbers than everybody else, that's not the be-all, end-all. And quite honestly, I've been struggling with this because I am such a fan of CM Punk, right? Because I am such a CM Punk mark. I've kind of been, struggling with the thought of what if Punk did leave? What if he was either fired, let go, or if he decided to quit? What does that mean? How does that look? How does that reflect on everything? Does it make AEW look worse? Or is it better to just kind of cut your losses and move forward? Invest that money into some of the guys that are actually showing loyalty to you currently in building your other stars. You already have an overbloated roster, right? So do you even need a CM Punk? He's one of the biggest stars in the world, but at this point, and maybe after he comes back from his injury 6-8 months from now, if he's still with the company, maybe some of this will have cooled off and maybe he'll be in a position where he could come back. If he does, he's got to be a heel. because you can't bring him back and expect anybody to cheer for him. It's just not going to happen. He's a fucking heel now at this point. But what if you do just let him go? What how it's not that big of a loss at this point, is it? Like, I think Punk is damaged goods. I don't know that he's going to be able to come. I think his star power is significantly diminished because the facade of this guy that I was so fond of, such a fan of, and that so many other people were. But that facade, that veil is gone now. People saw CM Punk's true colors. He's he's more than just a heel. He's a super villain. He's evil. The things that he was saying, like, I was on record also in that clip earlier from the week and on the reaction video, that I feel like the stuff he said about Colt was justified. Now, he went too far, to mention Colt's mom and that they shared a bank account. That is not necessary. When you are best friends with somebody, even when you have a falling out, you know so much about that person. You are an absolute shithead to now turn and use that against them, especially in public. Like, that was a dick move, a big time dick move. But I do see a lot of people saying, like, oh, why would you even go into Colt Cabana? What's the point of even talking about Colt Cabana? Well, I justified that. The dirt sheets were talking shit for weeks, and even before that, ever since Colt was moved off of AEW and over to ROH, it was brought up multiple times, and I saw it all over social media, that CM Punk was the guy responsible for removing Colt Cabana from AEW and almost getting him fired. And if that was not the case, as Punk swears that it's not, he had nothing to do with it. Tony swears Punk had nothing to do with it. Maybe this was a decision Tony just made because he was observant enough to notice these guys don't like each other. I don't want to cause problems. Colt's not really doing anything for my business anyway. God bless his heart. People love him. He's a star to a certain extent. But he's not worth losing or irritating Punk, right? So maybe he made that call all on his own. But so if all of that's true and the media just keeps saying it and saying it and saying it, at some point, Punk's got to, he deserves to take the time to fire back if that's what he wants to do. And, they're saying that, oh, this was planned. It was planned from the beginning. It probably was planned. He's not the kind of guy that's going to reach out to Uncle Dave and be like, hey, this is my side of the story. But when he's got all these media fucks in a room together and he can give his thoughts right there to all of their faces and confront them all about it, that I think was his plan. But he went way too far and then continued to go on and, bury everybody else in the company too. Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.